So if you're asking yourself this, there's nothing wrong with you. It just means that you are reinventing yourself. And the fact that you are even recognizing it is a huge sign of growth, number one, and a huge sign of courage because it takes a lot of courage to really strip away everything that's not you to reveal who you really are. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. So I wanted to, it's just so funny because the topic that I wanted to talk about, it seems like it has been coming up like so much today before I even recorded, but just so much in the past couple weeks. And I'm going to talk about it from a tactical standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint. Because I think if you understand both separately, you'll also understand how they both go together. And it's something that I've been kind of going through in my own life, which is one of the reasons why I want to talk about it. Because if I'm going through it, more than likely, some of you who are listening are going through it with all that we've been through with the economy and all that's going on in the world and all that's going on with businesses. More than likely, you are experiencing something very similar. But also, it's been something that I've been talking about with a lot of business owners, and I've listened to several podcasts where they were talking about this topic, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to bring it to the podcast because I think that, again, if I'm experiencing something or I'm learning about something, I want to share it with you. And I don't always want to share like frameworks on like how to manage your cash flow or how to, hire people, which I've done that in the past. I wanted to talk about something a little bit, which I've been talking about different things for some time now, but something that probably will again relate to a lot of people who are listening to this. So, have you, and maybe it's something that you're going through now, or maybe it's something that you have experienced at some point in time where you are kind of moving along, you're doing your thing, you're building your business, you're working with your team, you're just kind of going through life. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I feel stuck. Things feel off. I don't know why. I don't enjoy doing some of these things that I'm doing anymore. And you start to feel like it's like you can't quite figure it out. Can't quite figure out why you feel so weird. Have you ever experienced this? So if you have, we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about why it comes up, and we're going to talk about both, again, from a tactical standpoint, but an emotional standpoint, how you can recognize it and what you can do. And it's this whole thing of reinvention and the process of reinvention and when it comes up and why it comes up, but then also like, how do you move through it? Because I know for myself, my husband always says, you have no patience. You expect things to happen like this. And when it comes to the process of reinvention, and some people don't even recognize that that's what's happening. I was on a call today, a coaching call, and they were actually talking about this. And they were asking it in the context of, because they're all entrepreneurs that are on the call, how many people feel overwhelmed right now? And they were asking, why do you feel overwhelmed? Is it social media? A lot of people said social media. A lot of people said marketing. A lot of people said, just creating content, like creating a schedule to even do it. People said it's just having to do it and feeling like I just can't create the content. Some people said, I feel overwhelmed because I'm managing all of these people and they're not doing the things that I want to do. And I sat and I listened to all of them. And I thought to myself, this isn't overwhelm. I've heard overwhelm described that overwhelm is everything we've ever asked for and we don't know what to do with it. I've also heard that overwhelm is when we are focusing on things that we shouldn't be doing, that we're focusing on work and tasks and projects that maybe aren't things that we should be doing. But I was listening to all of these people and I just thought to myself, because I know all of their backgrounds. I know, where they are in their business, what they're looking to do. And the truth is that what was coming up for them, it could be overwhelm. It could be that feeling of being stuck. But what's underneath it all is really that you're ready to move forward. You're ready to do something different. You're ready to, something's asking you to step into that next version, but you're trying so hard to hold on. And it shows up as being stuck. It shows up as feeling like you're struggling. It shows up as all kinds of things. But what it comes down to is this process of reinvention. And I also saw something the other day, and it was a post. It was actually a friend of mine that said a founder and a CEO are two different things, two different skill sets, two different, things that they need to be focusing on. Now, in many ways, I disagree with that. And in other ways, I do agree with it, depending on your business, depending on what you're doing. Because many times over, a founder can function as a CEO. And it does, there are different tasks that you do. And if you're functioning as the CEO, you're driving the vision. You're making sure that the boat is being steered. You're doing all of these things. But if you're a founder and you're in that time of transitioning where you're going to go through that reinvention process where you're saying to yourself, I want to build something else. I don't know what I want to build, but I want to build something else. Or even, I had a call with somebody yesterday about this, stepping back from your business and thinking about what is that next iteration that I want to go through, which is where hiring a CEO, hiring a president, hiring a fractional CEO to run the business and drive the vision forward, build out the strategies, make sure that cash is coming in, make sure that the business is profitable. That yes, then that becomes their role, the CEO, and then you continue to handle like really thinking and ideating and innovating and coming up with what is this next thing that I want to do. And when that happens in that particular thing, it's a reinvention process that we end up going through. And it's why so many founders get so frustrated because they're trying to function in two roles. So if you are someone who is a CEO, who is an owner of a business, and you're starting to feel that friction of that discomfort, that feeling of something, I feel stuck. I feel like I'm not struggling, but I feel stuck. For me, it showed up. I had been running my business for so long. My business partner had gotten sick. I shut down the store because I didn't want to do it by myself. And we had left corporate. And even when I left corporate, I just went running. I was running. I was like, I just got to do this. Like, I'm a founder of a business. I just got to do this. I just got to keep running. I just got to keep doing things until one day, for me, the moment that friction started to happen was when I just couldn't run anymore. And I thought to myself, oh my God, like I'm stuck. For me, it showed up, I was frozen. I couldn't figure out like what my next step was. I couldn't figure out, like, so much stuff just felt so out of alignment. The work that I was doing for clients, the projects that I was working on, even like clients that I was taking on, nothing made sense anymore. Nothing made sense. And it wasn't in alignment with what I thought I really wanted to do. But at the same time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I just kept trying to fight against it because I wanted to just continue to function in some normal capacity because I needed to. I needed to so that we could keep money coming through the door. I needed to because I had a team that I needed to support. I needed to because I just needed to keep going. But at the same time, I knew I needed to keep going. But at the same time, I didn't know where I was going. And felt like I just kept kind of going in circles. So if you're feeling like that, if you're a founder and you're like, you might even be thinking, I don't even know if I like this business anymore. And I don't even know, but at the same time, I don't know what I'm going to do. And this is where people, then the next phrase out of their mouth is, I feel burned out. And as I said to someone a couple weeks ago, I said, burnout, everybody talks about burnout right now. They talk about overwhelm. They talk about, being, oh my God, I'm so burned out. I have so much stuff to do. There's so much stuff coming on my way. And really what burnout is burnout is lack of rest. That's number one. And that's just exhaustion. That's not necessarily burnout. But burnout and overwhelm typically come from working on things that are not in alignment with our greatest strengths and the things that we're really good at and the work that we should be doing. It's out of alignment with it. So if you're a founder and you're in the middle of absolutely every single decision in the business, and one day you're like, I can't do this anymore. I feel so burned out and overwhelmed. Then that's something telling you that you need to take a step back and think about and go through this reinvention process. And so many people, again, want to just kind of fight it off and say, nope, I need to keep moving. I need to keep going. And when people do that, and I've seen it firsthand with business owners, that's when we end up closing our doors. That's when they end up feeling like what they built, that the business that they built doesn't feel good anymore. It actually feels like it's holding them back, or it feels like they're stuck in a box and they can't get out. And when that starts to happen, and if you want to talk about a physiology, our nervous system starts to overfire, is just an overload. And when that starts to happen, the nervous system goes on overload. We're feeling burned out. We're constantly feeling stuck. We're constantly feeling like we're struggling. We're constantly feeling sad or anxious or depressed, or however it ends up showing up, irritable. Then what happens is we can't make those strategic decisions that we need to make. They end up suffering. So if you're feeling like this, what I can tell you based on my own story, my own situation in that moment, and I remember like sitting on the sofa, and I just knew I had been running for so long, and it was like I didn't even know what I was doing anymore. And I was running and I was doing things that, even though I knew I could do, balance financial statements and do balance sheets and, create marketing plans, there was something that just did not feel good about it anymore. And I remember sitting and I was like, and like I said, when I left corporate, I was just running. I was just running because I knew I needed to make money. I knew I had skills. I knew how to do stuff. I knew a lot about business. I knew how to build businesses. I knew all the, the really ugly parts of business. And I knew I could help people. And that's what I did. And I went from 0 to 1,000 in like 24 hours and never looked back until the pain of staying the way that I was and the pain of staying where I was so far greater than the pain that I was going to have to go through to enter into this state of reinvention. And I knew I needed to lean into or follow that intuition of, I think I need to go back into the fire and be reshaped. And a lot of people aren't willing to answer that call because being in the status quo, being in the day to day, thinking that, oh, I've made it this far, I'm just going to keep going. Most people will want to stay in that place. But if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh my gosh, I can totally relate. I can totally relate. I can tell you that one of the first things that happens is again, it just feels like you're stuck and you're struggling and you don't know which direction to go. And when that happens, it's like we start asking ourselves better questions. We start asking ourselves, why is this happening? And maybe not even why is this happening? Maybe it starts with why is this happening? But then we start asking, okay, what do I want? What do I want next? A client of mine was like, I'm so tired of constantly putting out fires. Every time I walk into this building, I have to put out fires all day long. And I just can't do it anymore. I'm just tired of putting out fires. And he said, I feel burned out. And I said, well, why don't we flip it and let's start asking ourselves a different question. Instead of saying like, I don't know what to do. Maybe we say, why do I not want to put out fires anymore? What is this whole experience trying to teach me? And when we start asking ourselves different questions, we start asking ourselves better questions. That is when all of a sudden, like, things start to open up. And it doesn't happen overnight. This reinvention process is something that happens like over time. For me, it was several years just trying to figure out what I needed to do next. And again, another reason why a lot of people don't want to go through that process because it is painful, it's uncomfortable, and you're not going to know the next steps, and you're going to want to stop. And if you don't stop, you just want to keep moving because if you stop, you're going to have to face the reality of what's happening. And I know for me, that was a very scary thing. Someone who is a high performer, someone who has always been able to achieve great things, somebody who's always been, just like, if I set out to do something, if I said, I'm going to do this, then I did it. And here I was feeling like I was completely out of alignment with what I was doing. I didn't know what I was going to do next because my husband said, well, because I wanted to shut everything down. And my husband said, well, you can't shut everything down. What are you going to do next? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to do. So answering those questions and even asking yourself that takes a lot of courage, takes being brave, and takes, just really being willing to really get uncomfortable. Really get uncomfortable. And again, this can show up as someone who built a business, someone who even became a CEO and has been navigating so many different and new things with, having to learn skills that they didn't really have before, and then getting to the point where you're like, I don't know who I am anymore. It's an alignment problem. It's not an achievement problem. And the alignment problem is going to require a whole new level of thinking, a whole new level of how you take action, and a whole new level of how you lead. which is why most people want to run from it, because it's going to require you doing some different things, you looking at things differently, you thinking differently, but also behaving and taking different steps outside of what you normally do. So when this starts to happen, you're going to start to see it. You're going to start to see things shift and change in ways that you wouldn't have thought. Like for me, with being so out of alignment with, again, what I was really asking, who I was about and what I cared about and what mattered to me with my own values and, what I truly enjoyed about the business that I built. And when that alignment starts to things start not to be aligned. I mean, people start to fall away. Clients started to fall away. The work that I was doing, it was not enjoyable. And then I started like just letting projects go. And I started again, I started to then question and say, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with me? Like I can't do this. And then your brain starts to go to, I'm a failure. I'm not doing this right. And I've seen it with executives that I've worked with founders who they get to a certain level, like their business gets achieves a certain level of success, and then they're like, "Is this it?" And they start to feel like, "Oh my gosh, I've been in the middle of everything, and I don't, I just don't enjoy this anymore." So if you're asking yourself this, there's nothing wrong with you. It just means that you are reinventing yourself. And the fact that you are even recognizing it is a huge sign of growth, number one, and a huge sign of courage, because it takes a lot of courage to really strip away everything that's not you to reveal who you really are. So I'm going to give you some questions that you can actually ask yourself and look at it from the standpoint of tactical in your business, but also look at it from an emotional standpoint or a mindset standpoint for you. Okay. So the first one is when you start to feel like things just don't feel right. I feel stuck. I feel overwhelmed. I feel burned out. I feel like, I don't know. I can't stand having to put fires out all day. I don't like the work that I'm doing. I don't want to be stuck here. I don't want to be stuck in the kitchen all day. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, where can you let go? So from a tactical standpoint, you're saying, where can I let go? What am I holding on to that I really don't enjoy, that I really don't want to do, and that I really need to let go? So from a tactical standpoint, if you look at your list, if you look at your to-do list and you say, okay, I had this conversation with someone last week. I have to manage all of the contracts in the business. I have to negotiate them. I have to make sure that all the bills get paid. I have to coordinate the meetings with the accountant. So if you're looking at that, looking at it and saying, where can I let go of some of this stuff? And why am I holding on to it? Is it because I want to control everything? Is it because it's what I've always done? Is it stuff that only I can do? Or can I let go and can I can someone on my team handle it? Can I change the days that I have meetings? So it's like, where can I let go of things that maybe I'm trying to control in my business? From an emotional standpoint, it's what behaviors am I holding on to? Do I forego the workout in the morning because I just don't feel like it? Am I constantly checking email all day because it's a behavior of mine? Am I holding on to a belief that I'm only meant to achieve this in my business because that's just what I've always gotten? What are you holding on to that doesn't really serve you anymore? And if you let it go by either delegating and finding someone who can help you on your team, or saying, you know what? I need to shift the way that I think about my business. I need to shift the way that I think about my leadership. So that's question number one. Question number two, and this goes along with it, where are you doing things that you shouldn't be doing? Where are you focusing because it's comfortable for you to do these things? And maybe you need to start to delegate them out. Maybe it's even, maybe what projects do you have your team working on that you no longer enjoy and that is actually like exhausting the team? And you keep getting pulled into it because you keep having to answer questions because they're confused because it's not really something that you want to work on. Where can you like really start to let go of that? And this shows up again. Where are you doing things that you shouldn't? You know, where are you? Are there any behaviors? Again, so many people want to just default to checking email first thing in the morning. And really, they should be reading something or creating content or something else that they need to do. So, where can I start to shift some of the things that I'm doing in my business to start to get more in alignment with what it is that I want to achieve? And the last one is if you're asking yourself, if you're sitting there and you're asking yourself, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I really want to do and what I don't want to do. I don't know what I want to build and what I don't want to build. So instead of saying, well, I don't know what I want, maybe start with the question of what do you not want? So this was an activity that I actually did. And I looked at my list and I said, okay, what are the things that I don't want? Well, I knew I didn't want to travel all the time. I knew I didn't want to go from client to client to client, driving around all day and being in meetings all day. I also knew that, okay, so if I didn't want to do that, what would that look like? Well, then I needed to meet with people online and I needed to expand the area that I was serving. And I needed to not go to book myself crazy with back to back to back to back to back meetings. I knew I needed to bring on a team member to handle some things. So I started with what is it that I don't want to start to uncover, okay, well, if I don't want this, then these are the things that I know I need to do so that I can continue to move my idea, my concept, my business forward. So it's when we ask ourselves these questions, we start asking better questions of ourselves, better questions of something outside of us, that answers start to feel or start to reveal themselves. And this process, I mean, so many people want to rush through it. I know I wanted to rush through it. I was like, oh my God. I remember a mentor saying when it first started to happen, I remember them saying, oh, you're going to be going through this for a year. And several years later, and I was still going through it. Reinvention doesn't happen overnight. And the reason why is because when you're in the process of reinventing yourself, or your business is reinventing itself, or whatever it is, your life is reinventing itself. Because you're getting clearer on what it is that you really want and what you're here to do. And that takes a lot of uncovering. It takes a lot of letting go of things and kind of stripping away everything that isn't you, so that you can move forward. And I know for me, when she said, "Oh, we'll talk in a year. Like it's going to take a year to go through this," I cried because I was like, "A year?" Because it was just so painful. And a couple years later, and I was still going through it. So the first thing that we want to do is start to ask ourselves some better questions. When we can ask ourselves better questions, when we can ask ourselves, like, are the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, are they really what I need to be doing? Are they things that align with like what I do know that I want to build or not? And if they're not, we need to let them go. But the biggest thing is to realize that no matter what with all of this, we stay still long enough to hear our own voice and to let ourselves be so that ideas can come in. And then from there, we take even the smallest action. So it could be, okay, I'm going to read something because I know I need to learn something, or I'm going to try something. I'm going to put something out there, or I'm going to build out this new product that I want to offer, or I'm going to take this marketing idea that I have and I'm going to talk to my graphic designer. Whatever it is, a body in motion stays in motion. The stillness is what reveals to us, is what starts to open up the creativity and open up that expansiveness so that we can breathe, so that we can start to let our heart lead. And then those actions, that motion that we take, is what then creates the momentum to move us forward. So if you are in that stage, and I know so many founders and CEOs are, where they feel stuck, they feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much coming at me all at once and I don't know how I can handle it. Well, maybe you weren't meant to handle all of it yourself. And that's where we can start to say, what is this going to look like? Who do I need to become? And what is it that I really, really am here to do? So I hope that this episode helped you. Until next week, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you back here soon. Take care for now.